Across the Hartford skyline, there are easy-to-spot landmarks, from the state capitol to the Travelers Tower to Duncan Park. But towering above I-91, you can see one of the most unique sights in the capital city, the Blue Onion Dome. Now we have an insider's perspective. The journey to the dome requires lots of steps following a wooden walkway and climbing stairs to the very top.
It is an incredible view over here. I mean, you're really seeing all of a good chunk of Hartford. And
oh, it's beautiful.
Larry Dooley was our tour guide. He's the managing partner at Colt Gateway, which now owns the complex.
It was this place, it was this dome, it was this, I just couldn't resist, to get involved in the development of this project.
In its prime, this was a state-of-the-art gun factory started in the 1800s by Samuel Colt.
He's able to really change the way manufacturing was happening, not only in Connecticut, but in the whole nation.
Spotting the dome is easy, but tracing its history is a bit of a mystery. Beginning outside the state Supreme Court building, through the ornate foyer, and into the inside of the Connecticut State Library, you'll discover pieces of our past hidden in plain sight.
The Museum of Connecticut History could be considered a hidden treasure.
Browsing a collection, museum goers can learn about how Colt started a gun factory on the banks of the Connecticut River in 1847. And one of the most distinct features Colt added was the dome that adorned the top.
He was very much inspired by some of the trips he had taken into Eastern Europe. He had done a lot of work abroad trying to sell his ideas and sell his products as he's trying to get started.
Even now, drivers traveling on I-91 can see the brilliant blue bulb dotted with stars and a rampant Colt perched on top, a play on Colt's name and vivid marketing for the factory as anyone passed by.
Now they try to build the tallest building. Back then, it's who's got the coolest thing on top of their factory. So, and in this case, I think he beat everybody because the dome is super cool, it's super unique.
While the original Colt atop the building was destroyed in a fire, a surviving statue from the 1800s is now at the museum. Their staff help folks learn about Colt's complex history and his development of a revolver, the six-shooter we know today.
It's hard to know exactly what Sam Colt was thinking when he came up with this idea in the early 1830s. The world was very different at that time.
Gun production involved two buildings standing near the armory, the foundry and the forge.
Back in the day, it was pretty much cutting edge on the manufacturing side of it.
Then more work took place inside the armory, helping to mass produce the guns.
Up until that point, a lot of firearms were, it was a craft industry. They were being produced by one person. This gave each person on the assembly line was creating one piece. And then after each piece was made, they were assembled.
While the revolver launched an empire, Colt would die soon after in 1862. And then a few years later, a fire destroyed the armory and the dome. It was Colt's wife, Elizabeth, who led the rebuilding and growing the company to its legendary status. But a century later, the complex had fallen into disrepair, and then there were fixes.
the dome was last renovated back in 1999, and the hope is that it will hold up for decades from now.
In the early 2000s, a replica statue of the Colt was created and added to the dome to complete it. And now there are grander plans to transform parts of the facility into the Coltsville National Historical Park.
What would you envision this becoming?
Well, the Park Service folks wanted to use this space as their office space, so they'd be here, and you'd have like the actual park rangers, guys with the hats and the whole thing, would be here. They'd be doing tours. They'd have an educational space. They could explain about the history of this to kids.
Plans for the park have been moving along for a while, though when it's finally established, it's not certain park goers will be able to access the dome.
There's a lot of people that are very into the Colt legacy and the whole history of it. So getting those people here is really important, and I think that's going to help our other businesses here that rely on that.
Now the complex is a bustling spot, including with apartments, businesses, and a brewery. A landmark providing a chance at preserving the past and building for the future that's hidden in plain sight.